Greetings and salutations. Please allow me to welcome you to Masterpiece Theater. I'm your host, Obba Babatunde, and here on Masterpiece Theater, we celebrate the very best in the spoken word, the written word, and the word expressed in song. In addition, we pay tribute to the talented artists that bring those words to life. Each week here on Masterpiece Theater, I have the pleasure of engaging brilliant artists in one-on-one conversation that explores the great treasures and these writers and actors and singers and dancers possess as we spotlight their artistry that illuminates us all. So I say, a very warm welcome. And welcome. A happy holiday season. The Thanksgiving season is upon us, and we are thrilled to always be thankful for the many gifts that we have been given. So take the time to share with your family, your friends, and really enjoy the Thanksgiving time. Now, as you know, each week here on Masterpiece Theater, we discuss the wonderful word of writing, among the many things that it has to offer. In its own ability, we get an opportunity each week to deal with things that otherwise we might not have dealt with in our own personal travels. In this case, the subject today is the subject of our show, and I am thrilled to have some magnificent guests in studio with me, some on the way, some who are here now, and some who plan on calling in. Now, each and every week, millions of fans around the country tune in to watch football. It is the most popular sport in the nation. But my question is, how many of us really know what it is in terms of the behind scenes that goes on? Most of us remain unaware as to the harrowing tragedies that result in the lives of most of its participants. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of us know, and this was things that I didn't know, how many of us know that the average retirement age of the NFL player is only 27? That the percentage of NFL players that have careers lasting longer than 3 years is scarcely 3%? Or that more than 3/4 of all NFL players are divorced, bankrupt, or unemployed less than 2 years after having left the game. Not many of us know that, I would dare to say, with the possible exception of my studio guest today. Today, I have as my guest the writer-director and a brilliant man. His name is Matthew Cherry, and he is also the feature film director and writer of the great film that I have the pleasure of being a part of, The Last Fall. Now, this film stars Lance Gross, Nicole Behair, Harry Lennox, Vanessa Bell Calloway, Keith David, Darrin De Witt Henson, and a host of other brilliant actors and actresses. Let me just read to you the log line from The Last Fall. The Last Fall is a coming-of-age sports drama about the difficulties that the NFL journeyman faces trying to transition to life after playing his days in football have ended. The reviewing motion picture for the Los Angeles Times writer Gary Golson says, "This is an involving, sympathetic film, unafraid to wear its sizable heart on its sleeves." Now, I got an opportunity not only to be in it, but a chance to see it. And I must tell you, and I'll share this with you about my guest, this man has done a brilliant job because he's given us an opportunity to look inside what we don't know about as it pertains to NFL players, because we all have a perception of, the great players that we know. We watch it as a sport, we enjoy it, but we don't know what goes on really with these gentlemen behind the scenes. We're going to talk about that today. Let me tell you about the director, Matthew Cherry. Matthew Cherry is from Chicago, Illinois, and is a highly sought-after music video director that has directed videos for Terry, Dexter, Jasmine Sullivan, Snoop Dogg, Chester Gregory, Common, CeeLo, Eric Robinson, Chubb Rock, Phil Perry, and Take Six, just to name a few. And now he is a brilliant feature film director. We met on the set. I was doing an episode of Girlfriends, and Matthew was a production assistant at the time. And we're going to talk about this, but Matthew, brilliance always reveals itself. Matthew was a production assistant, and I had the opportunity to share and sit and talk with many of the actors on the show. And Matthew, in doing the job that he was assigned to, but was nearby. He stayed close. And one day he said to me, he says, hey, on the way to the set, he says, listen, Obba, you know, I'm working on some things, man. And at one point, I'd like to be able to call you. And I said, you know what, Matthew, when you get it together, please do that. Contact me, reach out to me. And I gave him my number. And some time passed by, and before long, I get this call. Hey, man, I'm not sure if you remember me. My name's Matthew Cherry. And I said, yeah, brother, I remember exactly who you are. And he says, well, you know, I got this movie, man, and I'd like to send it to you. And maybe, you know, get your feedback on it. And if you like it, maybe even do something in it. Well, he sent it to me, and the rest is history. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome my friend and director of the feature film, The Last Fall, Mr. Matthew Cherry.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show. Did I articulate that story of our meeting kind of as it went down?
Yeah, you definitely did. Definitely, you know, you're very gracious. You know, not a lot of the guest cast, you know, or was as approachable as you were. So, you know, definitely appreciated, you know, even being open to the opportunity of letting a production assistant get your contact information, because I know it could get a little weird on set sometimes. So.
Yeah, but you know what? You know, as I said, you know, your do is not necessarily your who. Meaning that what one is doing is not necessarily who they are. So we should never underestimate someone based on what they're doing. You know, clearly you were a man who had a purpose, you know, and we're going to find out more about that, exactly what that purpose was, because now you're a feature film director. Let me ask you, tell me, and then as our other guests join us, I'll introduce them, ladies and gentlemen. But tell me, Matthew, what was the impetus for this? Was it somewhat biographical in terms of how you came about wanting to be involved in writing this particular film and then directing it? Yeah,
well, you know, I like you said, I started out doing kind of music videos after I tried to transition out of PAing, and you know, when I moved to LA, I had like this 5-year plan where I wanted to be kind of stepping into what I wanted to do for a living by the time I hit 30. And last year I was 29, so you know the clock was ticking, and I had to make a move. And you know, just through the journey, you know, I you know, met a lot of amazing, you know, talented African American directors. You know, some on shows that you would expect to see black talent, you know, directing, like Girlfriends in the Game,
right.
But some on other shows like Heroes, where you really wouldn't expect to see, you know, a brother kind of helming the controls on that, because you know, very big cast, you know, huge, you know, special effects, you know, very much not, you know, the traditional genre you see us working in. And so, you know, I worked with like Anthony Hemingway. I was a set PA when he directed Red Tails. You know, Eric Landaville, Seeth Mann, you know, some incredible, you know, African-American directors, and I wanted to kind of try to transition into that. And so, you know, 4 years later, you know, 29, you know, this deadline, this self-imposed deadline is staring me in the face, and, you know, I wanted to do a film. And, you know, I was trying to, like, seek out different scripts, and as I'm sure you know, working in this business, you know, good scripts are hard to come by.
Right.
And particularly from a director standpoint, because you really have to connect with the material if you're going to properly, you know, create this world from scratch. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, nothing was really speaking to me, and I'd never considered myself as a writer, but I was like, man, you know, if I want to make a move, I'm going to have to probably write something myself. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I just started trying to reflect on my own life experiences And, you know, one of the kind of main things, something that I actually kind of downplayed because, you know, I mean, I made it to the NFL, yes, but it was more like an undrafted free agent, journeyman. You know, I'd barely played, you know, some home games when I was on the practice squad. We didn't even dress. I'm in the press suite, you know, watching it, you know, like the players, some of the players' wives and stuff. So, you know, it's not something that like I, you know, really, you know, try to draw a lot of attention to. But it's something that other people, when they find out that about me, they'd be like, "Oh my God, that's incredible!" You know, it's incredible when they like blow it up, and I'm just like, you know, it's kind of whatever. And so, you know, last year there was an NFL lockout was looming, and so there was a threat that the whole NFL season was going to be they were going to go on strike because they were trying to go behind and try to figure out a new contract, a new deal, and new terms. Mm-hmm. And I saw this as an opportunity to potentially shoot a documentary. So what I did was put together this documentary, and we went to from like all these different cities, and we were trying to, you know, figure out, okay, who do you guys blame? Like one of the main questions we asked people, like, who do you blame? Do you blame the players? Or do you blame the coaches? And you know, a lot of the fans, to my surprise, were blaming the fans. I mean, they were blaming the players. They were saying that, you know, a lot of them were greedy. They were arrogant. What do I care if they make $9 million, $8 million? You know, it's more money than I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And I just found myself constantly trying to defend, you know, the players and being like, it's not really like that. You know, I know a lot of guys who played for several years and, you know, don't have $1 million, that they made, you know, in several years' time. So, you know, it's not really like that. And I just found myself constantly defending. And then I was like, man, you know, maybe there's an opportunity here to educate some people as well as entertain. And so that's kind of how the seed was planted. And and the rest, you know, is history.
See, that's brilliant because you truly did take your own life experience. You wrote from something that you knew about.
Right.
And therefore the information is empirical because it was something that you actually had experienced. Now, why don't you just lead us a little bit down the road, and then my friend has joined us, but I'm going to save him, you know, to the audience in a moment, and I'll introduce him. They'll be thrilled to know that he's here, and I'm thrilled that he's here. But I want, since we're on this topic now, and it's a serious topic because, you know, players have this reputation for being, you know, once they obtain celebrity, that they're all well. Now, I read some statistics. Why don't you enlighten the audience who may be just tuning in to some of the statistics that actually is the true case and scenario that happens with one who is a player in the NFL?
Well, you know, some of the stats, you know, the thing that's interesting to me about this topic, like, and I think that's familiar with all the forms of entertainment, whether it be acting, whether it be being a singer or whatever, is that I think, you know, a lot of people see, you know, the top people, you know, the Rihanna, the Peyton Manning, you know, the Denzel, and they assume that everybody is operating on this level. Mm-hmm. And so similar, you know, with these other entertainment fields, with the NFL, you know, you do have a couple of guys that are making the big money, you know, the Michael Vicks, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Bradys of the world. But on any given team, you know, if you have a 53-man roster, you know, maybe 4 players are making the big dollars. You know, mm-hmm. Everybody else is kind of making it from check to check. You know, the thing that people don't realize with the NFL, unlike all the other professional sports leagues, is that the NFL is the only professional sports league that doesn't have guaranteed contracts. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people like lump together what, you know, they see Grant Hill sit out an entire season and he's still getting paid, and they assume that same thing is happening for an NFL player, which isn't necessarily the case. You don't get your pension until you hit your 5th year. But on the flip side, the average career is only 3 years. So you could play for 3-4 years, you know, break your body up. But if you don't make to that active roster to that 5th year, you receive no money. There are even players that have made it to their pensions that might be getting like $1,000 a month. You know, I mean, can't work, can't do anything, but they're trying to survive and live off of, you know, peanuts compared to what you would think that they should be making. So, you know, so to give you some more stats, you know, the average career is 3.5 seasons. You know, most players end up being retired in their mid-20s. You know, 78% of players, they say, are bankrupt, divorced, or unemployed 2 years after leaving the game. Only 4% of players have a career that lasts longer than 4 seasons. So here you have 96% of players that make it to the league who are retired, you know, in their mid-20s. And, you know, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, but in this book it speaks about how it takes 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert at something. And so in a lot of cases, whether it be like some of our best actors or some of our best singers, some of our best dancers, entertainers, whatever, a lot of times what happens is by the time that they can walk, they've been studying this craft, you know, and unlike football, where, you know, you might be a dancer, you might be a singer, you might be an entertainer, and you can still be in your 20s and still kind of starting to hit your stride.
Right.
Here you have a group of guys who've worked their entire lives towards this goal, and now it's gone. And it doesn't necessarily translate into life experience. You know, you can't really put that on a resume. Yeah, I played in the league, and okay, I'm going to get this job over here at this law firm. You know, it doesn't really translate. So, you know, it's extremely difficult for a lot of guys, and, you know, guys that were in my position, that were journeymen, that didn't make the big money, and people, somebody from like even like a junior out who, you know, achieved success at the highest level, and, you know, did everything save for win a Super Bowl, and, you know, he ended up committing suicide because he couldn't cope with that life after. So so, you know, it's something that needs to be addressed, and you know, just want to kind of show that different side of it.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk a little bit about, which is going to lead me into the introduction of my next guest, because he plays a particular character in the movie that, by the way, we'll talk about this, that the way you handle this character, both you, the director and writer, and our esteemed actor, was brilliant, because it could have easily, under less capable hands, come off as somebody who is simply the bad guy and cast an aspersion unfairly, as opposed to the way you do it in the film. All right, let me introduce my guest. First of all, I'm thrilled that he has taken the time. He canceled a flight, rearranged a flight so he could be with us today. And I appreciate that, and I respect him. That's the kind of man that he is. He is perhaps best known for popularizing the role of Lem Van Adams on the TV series Soul Food. But many of his credits, and I'm just going to give you a few, because they're too numerous to mention. This is a full career. Productions like Stomp the Yard, brilliant portrayal in Tekken, the Express, Life Support, the Inheritance, the Salon, Double Platinum, Blood Done, Sign My Name, Last Stand, April Fools. We're talking about the movie today, the Last Fall, The Hustle. A Good Man Is Hard to Find, The Marriage Chronicles. You know, his credits go on and on and on. And many of you may also identify him as a choreographer and dancer. 2000 winner for the MTV's Best Choreography for NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye. He's a two-time NAACP nominee for Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. He is also an author of a book of poems entitled Intimate Thoughts. He is a great friend, and we welcome you to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Darrin De Witt Henson is in the studio with us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Oh, then you know what we were talking about, Dee, that I was talking about how I met Matthew, and people. Let me just share something with you about my friend here. We were both. He was working on Soul Food, and I was doing a movie in Toronto, Canada, and we ran into each other in the lobby of the hotel. And he said, "Hey, listen, I've been trying to convince the show that I'm on. They're looking for a character, a man, to play my dad, and I want you to play that character." And I said, "Hey, Darrin, I would love to work with you." So he went and he pitched it to the producers. Now, ultimately, what they decided to do was bring me on the show as a dad, but it wasn't his dad.
That's right.
It was Rockman Dunbar.
That's right.
Right? But, it was through his efforts that made sure that he said, "Listen, this is an actor that I would like to see in a situation that afforded me the opportunity, and I respect you and appreciate you for your kindness, and I thank you again for joining us here on the show."
Oh, it's wonderful. I'm glad they were smart enough to make the choice.
Now, in this film, The Last Fall, let's talk a little bit about your character. Describe your character to me, if you will, as it pertains to the film, and then we're going to talk about, how brilliantly you portrayed this character and why.
I think he is an American man who is dealing with what most American men are dealing with, and that is what I call the Superman hero situation. We look at heroes in America as people who come and save the day and then leave. And this particular man in the film has a child with a woman, and I believe that he truly does love and care about both, but he's a fleeting man. And we see within the film, he tries to get back what he's lost. And sometimes that's a difficult thing to do when it may concern trust and love. And this is what he's going through. He's trying to get back what he once was given, which was a great deal of trust and love.
Right. Now, let me just share that what I was referring to when I said in the hands of a lesser director and a lesser actor, this character could have been stereotyped as just someone who's the bad guy, a deadbeat dad, somebody that nobody should care about anyway. But in the capable hands of both of you gentlemen, that's not what happens here, because we identify that here is a man who made a decision, as Darrin said, he was fleeting, and the gentleman who actually Lance plays the role of the lead character, he is left. Just some background story. He is left at an early age to go and be a participant in his professional career, and in doing so, his girlfriend at the time he leaves her, and she is distraught, and ultimately ends up catching and falling in love with the character that Darrin plays. And they have a child together. And there are troubled difficulties in this young relationship, as would tend to happen, between the two of them. And as Darrin described, he becomes one who is fleeting. But now the return of our hero, in this case, the character that Lance plays, returns, and he is now at a different time in his life because he's lost his opportunities as it pertained to being this big professional football player. He is perceived as being a celebrity, and there's nothing worse than being perceived as a celebrity when you're broke,
right?
Or and looking at a situation where you don't know where your next journey is going to take you. Because he says, I think in the film, he goes, "Football is all I know how to do." So he's at a loss. But getting back to the relationship is that in the course, as life has its way of doing, they say that life is what's happening while you're making plans. As life has its way of doing, he comes back and he has rekindled this relationship with this young lady. She's nervous and afeared that he already left one time. She's got a situation with her daddy baby, right? Who's fleeting. So she's in a quandary, But again, he was her first love, right. And so she's now leading herself back into his life, possibly. But then in the course of this, the character that Darrin plays comes to an epiphany in his life, and starts to realize, wait a minute. What have I done? I realize that this woman in my child is where I should be. So now she's put in the position of these two men. One, the first love of her life, and two, a man who she isn't still to some degree in love with, because of the relationship that exists between this ready-made family and that is the potential of it. And there she is, caught in this situation. And Darrin, you handled that scene in the proposal scene so beautiful.
I think that within the conveyance of his emotions and the truth of the scene is he knows that he has not made the right choices by this woman and his son. And I think that he wants to do right. I believe that he, like most men, would love to have the experience of a great family and to be successful in whatever it is that they're doing. But within society, we find ourselves fighting many different beasts. And sometimes we make the wrong choices. A lot of times we make the wrong choices to choose the fight over the support and the the maintaining of family no matter what. We have something that we heard called through thick and thin, or through better and worse, or blood is thicker than water. This is the place where we can operate from no matter what happens as an outside influence or difficulty. And I think where this character sees it is he is now noticing that there has been a major change in him. His son is growing up. He's getting bigger every time he sees him. And, there's a place in his life where he feels empty and he needs a void to be filled and wants to now be responsible. But even within the wake of that comes the great word patience. You must have patience during this whole process. It is not something that happens immediately. So when I think this character doesn't get the response immediately that he wants, once again becomes fleeting, and once again becomes dogmatic, and once again becomes egotistical, and doesn't make the right choices based upon the decision that a woman would make to choose a man. Wonderful. Being supportive of that family, and I think this is what happens to him.
As well as the fact that, which we'll talk about, we're going to take a little break, but before we go to break, I just want to say it also, then there becomes the issue of when there is a moment when the two men who both have an interest in this woman come together, and what their understanding of the circumstances is based on their perception of it. Because, we think about things. Do we identify things based on our ideology? Do we identify things based on our indoctrination, education, or association? These are questions that we have to ask. We're going to take a little commercial break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
This poem is not only dedicated to my brother Sherman Nevins and my godson Kazi Bell, but to Troy Rose Sr., Trayvon Martin, Eric Lewis, Tony Daniels, Oscar Grant, Emmett Till, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Bob Marley, and any brother gone too soon caught in the legacy of racism or black-on-black crimes. I write this for the rip in my vocal cords that are tearing because I want to scream. I'm done with this American nightmare they call a dream. Seems if you're born black, you don't mean a thing. And what are the meaning to the words, let freedom ring? And is all that Martin preached about just becoming a dream? Because I'm shaking from these night sweats, wondering if mine could be next, perplexed from the position in which society would place them, in the grave or in prison. See, my sons, your sunrise and sunsets can be limited. Unfortunately, this happens to be your experiences. If life had a wish list, I would wish to take the terror from your existence, erase the pain from your back and the lack of respect the world has for you. You have to know that you're important too, and there is nothing in the world I wouldn't do for you. I'll always be your sister soldier, hold you down and ride with you. You've been a soldier since birth, the beautiful shade of the earth to whom Mother Earth gave birth first, the main ingredient. That's why you're feared and revered, and in my heart, held dear. I understand you. It's time to take back the manhood they tried to beat out of you. Time to reverse the curse. Tired of seeing my black men in a hearse. So many lives lost, my tears can no longer heal the hurt. I search for the answer to the cure for this hate. It's worse than cancer, yet not too late. Only love can heal this disease. And I look into the eyes of my black men and say, please, rise, gather your tribe, your women as your wives, with them and your children by your side. This is your village we live in. I plead, who will lead us? Rise from the dust. Our kings, rescue us from the path of the abducted. We have to trust that we have not forgotten our heritage. We've always been more than less than. This is coming from my heart. As your woman, mother, sister, and friend, I will carry you to the end. My question is, Where do we begin? How do we dispel the Willie Lynch with clenched fist pumping pride from inside? How do we prevent other lives from being taken, whether by the hands of a racist or our brothers looking into each other's faces? How do we get our people to see that self-hate has been embedded and misplaced? Of our dignity, we were raped. They tried to steal our souls, stripped us from our rituals. We are the anointed and the spiritual. I will not give up until I'm dead and gone. And even then, I will come back as a reincarnated spirit of the fearless. Because for you, my brother, I will go to hell and back. Because you deserve it. You've earned it. You were robbed with propaganda and lies. And through it all, you still seem to rise. I see the strength in your eyes. For your struggles, I cry. So I write this for the rip in my vocal cords because I want to scream from the top of my lungs. Put down the hate. Put down the guns. Because we are losing too many of our men, fathers, brothers, and sons. I love you. And I am sure I'm not the only one.
Hey, tired of those same old energy drinks with bad taste? Make a switch to Pitbull Energy Drink with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Pitbull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pitbull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Make a switch to Pitbull Energy Drink. Pitbull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pitbull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products. For more information on Pitbull energy drinks, bars, and mixes, visit their website at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Listen, I'd like to invite you, if you are listening and you're enjoying the conversation and you want to participate, if you've got any experience in the area or you have any questions for our in-studio guest, the number is 323-965-1600. That's 323-965-1600. So, welcome back, everybody. Listen, guys, tell me, I'm going to send this over to you, Matthew. Sure. Let's talk about the movie a little bit in terms of how long did it take to make this feature?
Oh man, we shot 15 days last July, so 3-5-day weeks. It was a quick shoot, but you know, when you're indie, you got to make it work.
Let me ask you this then: how much of yourself do you feel was exposed in this? And you can tell us a little bit, because I know that this was a trying and difficult time for you as it pertained to the transition of your mom. Yeah,
well, you know, I think making any film. You know, especially as a writer-director, I know both of you guys have stepped into that seat, so you know how much of a demand it is on you just on every level. And so, you know, especially then this, you know, I don't think anybody feels like, yeah, my life is so important, like it should be a movie or, you know, it should be, you know, anything like that. But, you know, I feel that, you know, the thing that I've learned, you know, particularly, you know, being around you guys is that, you know, film is rooted in truth. You know, I think everything is rooted in truth. And if you can't come from a real place, then it's going to come across false. And that's when you get, you know, movies and films and, you know, books and, you know, TV shows and everything else that, you know, aren't successful because you can tell that they're false. You know, they're doing it just to get a check. So, yeah, you know, definitely this. Like I had to pretty much open myself up to criticism, to, you know, people being all like into my personal business and, you know, and everything else because, you know, some of the things that I speak of, you know, in the film, like, you know, him getting his car repossessed, you know, that's something that actually happened to me when I was in the league. You know, that's something that I could have, you know, buried up under the rug and, you know, maybe the wifey find out, you know, some years later when we try to get a house and there were problems, but, you know, but, you know, it's just like, you know, but I felt as if, you know, that is something that needed to be seen because it's something that happens, you know, actually probably more often than you would think. Right. But, you know, we rarely see that side of it.
What about the fact that, from the female standpoint, you write about the character, your lead character's mom, right. And the, you know, I want to just, before I go on, let me just identify some of the people I think we talked about earlier, but I wanted you to identify again. Lance Gross, Nicole
Bihari,
right? Larry Harry Lennox, Vanessa Bell Calloway, Keith David. These are some of the luminaries that you had that came to shoot an independent feature for you. These are not identifiable, and Darrin, of course, are not identifiably usually as independent film actors. Right. They do major feature films. Now, these host of brilliant luminaries, they came to your picture obviously because great actors want to do great work.
Right.
But now the relationship that is spoken about, that you wrote about in pertaining to the separation between the mother and the father, the new boyfriend, which I play, to Vanessa Bell Calloway's, the character's mom.
You played it great.
Well, thank you very much.
Very spot on.
Thank you. Now, in the writing of that, was any of that touching home as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I joke and say, everything, a lot of the stuff was kind of based on real life, everything but the love story, which is the one thing, hopefully, that could have been the real deal. But, a lot of it was definitely based on personal experience. I think, particularly when you're dealing with family dynamics, you want it to be, if you look at a lot of Spielberg's films, there's always like that absentee father. I think, when it comes to a lot of, filmmakers, you try to base things off of what and you try to give them their own specific voice, and with both the passing of my mother and my father, this past like year and a half, through making this journey of this film, I'm glad that, they were represented in a way that I feel on both sides really kind of portrayed them in a way. My mother was very, very stern, but she was always that woman who, if you asked her for something, she would say no, but then 10 minutes later, you'd have what you asked for. It was almost like a knee-jerk reaction. And that's why, in the film, it's a scene in there where she, you may feel some kind of way about her, but she kind of, redeems herself at the end. And, same thing with the father. So, just want to try to keep it as, as authentic as possible.
Right. Now, Darrin, let's talk a little bit about what I know you're really astute on, the whole effects of choices in terms of whether you be an actor or an athlete. Your character in the movie dealt with it. How these choices affect family, friends, your future, and your community.
Well, I think that it is important, like all things, to study and to open yourself to what is going to be the best possible choice for you now and in the future. And if you have family, then that corresponds to them as well. And if you're going to make choices about a specific role that you're taking, it should be a catalyst that will help convey information to producers, directors, yourself about where you're going, and make the best decision that you can make. I just got a letter from someone in Ghana, and they asked me a question on the email, and they said, "You seem like such a godly man. Why do you take the roles that you take? Why do you choose the roles that you choose?" And I've chosen many different type of roles, and in films and in television, and the answer basically is because I see these people, and some of the people already have had voices, clearly, like Jim Brown in The Express. It's speaking of football, and a man who has made a career out of being a philanthropist, a giver, and also a great intellect, and a lover of football still. But, roles like Raven in Tekken, who was this strong role, James Eddie McCoy in Blood Done Signed My Name, that was directed by Jeb Stewart. These were a lot of the roles that I take. I looked at them as activists, and the key word in activist is to be active. And, Lem Van Adams, he's a man who came from the streets, who evolved. There was a cacophony of different emotions that were going on in the house, but he had he ended up taking care of the family business for the family when most of the family didn't have faith in him. So I like these roles that show, a person who says, you know, I can come as I am, I just can't stay as I am. And well if stated. We see within the last fall, maybe if we, you know, if the film was 4 hours, so to speak, we got to see the evolution of this man. You know, does he, you know, win the woman? Does he not? And what happens if he doesn't win her? How does his life change? You know, did he grow? So for me, that is my process.
Okay.
That is my process for my career.
So we're basically talking about a sense of responsibility,
yes.
right? Because we look at a project and these people, these characters, I mean, there's a variety and sundry of all characters that make up the world in which we live. But what I hear you saying, correct me if I'm not hearing this correctly, that the characters that you portray are relative to not just the character, but the message of who is the hero and what it is that it is properly identified as the film tells the story. And therefore, there is a social and moral consciousness in the roles that you choose. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That is correct, and thank you for simplifying it. You know, the individual I played in Stomp the Yard, so to speak, right? We look at that, you know, he didn't win the woman at the end. We have a tendency to only love the hero at the end. But if we're paying attention to the entire story, then we look at someone who is trying to get to a place or a space in life. And they're doing it based upon their consciousness, based upon their history of how they were treated, of their education, what society is doing in and around them now, and their either reaction or response to that. And so many of us are fighting a fight that we may not have to fight if we stopped, slowed down, took a deep breath, and said, what should I do now, opposed to react to what is going on in society.
Very, very astute. Very astute. Now, Matthew, tell me, there's some things that are going on with the film. For those of us who have not had the opportunity to see this film yet, where might they be able to see it, and what's going on with this project?
Well, you know, independent film, just to educate, you know, you find the money and you shoot it without anything in place. You know, you don't have any distribution. You don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, we were blessed enough to, you know, after completing the film, we premiered at South by Southwest, which is like a top 5 in the country film festival. We've played now at over 9 different festivals throughout the country. Been nominated for 19 different awards, won 3, Best Screenplay at ABFF, Best Director at Treasure Coast, and Best Feature Film at Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. And we got picked up for distribution by Image Entertainment. You know, I know Darrin does a lot of work with them. So they have our non-theatrical rights. We just completed a theatrical run in L.A. We were in theaters for a couple of weeks. We ended up finishing in the top 5 in the country for per screen average. That's how they kind of rank independent films. They either do it through total amount of money made or through per screen average. So we finished in the top 5 opening weekend. And then I guess world premiere news. So BET acquired our television rights, and
bravo!
And the license starts December 1st. So it should be playing sometime in December. I'm not sure the date yet, but yeah. So we'll look forward to seeing that on your TV screens in December.
Great, man. You see, you know what? That unto itself is its own success story. And you know, thank you so much for sharing that with the listening audience and those that are viewing and watching us on the streaming. But I want you to identify, everyone, that, you see, filmmaking is not for the faint of heart.
At all.
That it is really a very serious business. And what you've been hearing about today is craft. 2 gentlemen who have absolutely honed their craft, that they are able to then get the kind of results by producing a great product. And see, there is a difference between good and great, but a great product in their work ethic and through what they're able to give to all of us. And so we applaud them and we salute them, and we also encourage others who are interested in this industry to please. Darrin said Study. Learn about it. You know, if you were going to be, you know, a bus driver, you have to learn how to drive the bus.
That's right.
You know, or else you're going to create and put a lot of people's lives in danger, as well as the fact that we have the same responsibility in terms of the media, because as this show is going out around the world presently, right now as we're on the air, you know, it is giving someone an idea of who these people who they never have the opportunity to meet, who they might be, should they have the chance to meet them or meet someone that resembles them or is in their industry. And so we have the sense of being able to take on the responsibility for being the very best. We don't need anybody's permission to be great. I want everybody to identify that. You don't need anyone's permission to be great. If you choose to be great, take the steps right now toward being great, and in doing so, give yourself the ability to do that and therefore inspire someone else. We were talking about in the commercial break that how our three lives are connected in the different ways. I talked about the fact that Matthew was a PA on the television show that I was doing, Girlfriends. We talked about how that Darrin and I met while I was doing a film and he was working on Soul Food. And here we are now, all three working together. So there's absolutely the ability for us to work together and to build something that absolutely goes on to make a difference. So you have the ability to make a difference, and I know you can. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to continue with my guests. I want to give you the phone number if you want to call in and talk to anybody here. It's 323-965-1600. Again, that's 323-965-1600. We'll be right back. The music of Kevin Toney from the American Suite 3. Kevin Toney, we thank you for always sharing with us. And if you were tuned in and heard the spoken word artist, that was Inspire. We've also had her on the program, and we appreciate her words and her votes of encouragement. Now, we're coming upon the Thanksgiving, and I'm going to ask my studio guests to expound on their thoughts of Thanksgiving and their feeling about what they're thankful for. And then I'd also like to encourage you, if you would like to call and talk about anything. I think we have a caller on the line. So before we get to that, let's take that caller. Hello, caller, you're on the line. Thank you for calling.
Hi, Obba. It's Adila.
Adila Barnes.
Yes, I'm so glad you told me about your show. This is so educational. I am learning so much about the world of sports, and I'm sure that many of your other listeners are as well. The one question that I have for all of you is, I'd like to know, what is one thing you walked away having learned from this experience, knowing that all experiences have lessons and opportunities? What is one thing that you each walked away from this project with?
All right, who wants to take that first?
I guess I'll go. Man, I learned a lot about myself. It's just, filmmaking, man, it'll shine a light, a mirror back on you, and, just teach you like how you deal with people and, how you react to pressure, and just, unlike anything I've ever done, and even playing in the league, like I've never had a mirror reflected back upon me as if I had, trying to make this film. So, definitely, I think, just really more so just that art of collaboration. I think it's kind of cliche to say, but, filmmaking is the ultimate team sport. Mm-hmm. Similar to football, you can run the perfect route if you're a receiver, and and the quarterback could get ready to throw the perfect pass, but one lineman misses the block, and then the whole play is for naught. Similar in film, you have the perfect take, the actors are hitting their marks, it's amazing, but the sound guy forgot to record the sound. Now you have to go again. So everything has to really work in concert in order for you to have that perfect take. And, it's really, to me, filmmaking is just a process of learning each other and trying to, bring together a group of people to create that perfect moment. And just you try to string together a series of perfect moments together, and, you look up at the end of the day and you have hopefully a perfect film. So.
Fantastic.
Greetings, Adela. This is Darrin. I think for me, it was just really to focus on having gratitude and patience. That, for me, that's one of the things in my life that kind of hangs over my head and is under my feet, is to always develop patience, because I was and still am a very impatient person. But it's really to have an attitude of gratitude every day for everything. And one of the major things for me was to learn to pay attention to all the elements. We were always given a picture of, is the glass empty or half full? Half empty or half full. And when you take a really good look, a very long, deep look, then you'll notice that the glass is always full if you pay attention to all of the elements, because even if the glass only has half water, then the other half of the glass is filled with air. So, it's in learning that the glass is always full and operating from there.
Adila, thank you so much for that phone call and for that inspiring question. It really begs us all, and I think it segues ourselves into being able to be reflective, and it sort of helps us to involve ourselves in our question as it pertains to that which we are thankful for in this Thanksgiving period. So I'm going to send it back out to you, Matthew, and share with me that in the spirit of Thanksgiving, what it is that you feel that you are thankful for.
Well, honestly, I'm just thankful for the opportunity to work, to come to LA, as an outsider, didn't have any people that, I knew out here really, just kind of started from scratch. And to even, I think back on it like, God, 4 years ago, You know, I was a set PA, you know, on the set, you know, like getting you out of your trailer, and to, you know, fast forward today, you know, to be sitting in a radio, you know, interview, and, you know, sit next to Darrin and across from you, you know, and we're talking about a project that we completed. You know, it's just, you know, it's incredible to me, and it's something that, you know, every day, you know, I wake up and I'm just like, God, this can't be, you know, this can't be life, you know. And I think that, you know, one thing that we have to do moving forward is that, you know, yes, one thing I'm really trying to learn about myself is that you have to celebrate the victories. You know, I think it's real easy to like go in and just like work hard, and then, all right, no, that's done. Now I got to work on the next one. You definitely want to celebrate your victories, but you don't want to get complacent. You know, success can kind of lull you to sleep and put you in a very comfortable position when you're, you know, getting love, you know, even when you're getting hate, you know, it can kind of get you in a space for like, man, you know, maybe I should slow down, but you have to keep going, because, you know, Hollywood is very much about, you know, yes, once it's public, it's old. You know, once it's come out, you know, it's old. That project, we shot that last year. So you got to always try to keep it moving, and always try to keep working to be better at your craft, because, this was the first project for me, and I was able to, you know, it was something personal, but the next one, I might not have that personal story, and I might have to work a little harder in order to tell that new story. So, you know, I think it's just about growing, and like Darrin said, it's always about studying and trying to grow as an artist. So
perfect, brother. Darrin?
I truly am thankful for ancestral movements. I'm thankful for people who paved the way for people like myself who had a dream as a child. And, you know, I've learned what you can't see, you can't be. So for all of those people who worked hard and all those people who sacrificed and did things before I got there, I'm thankful to them. You know, I look at yourself, and when I was a dancer and a choreographer like yourself, Obba, I said, what is the natural process? What do I do next? You know, and very much like yourself or Gregory Hines or the Nicholas brothers, they danced, they acted, and I said, okay, this is what I do. This is what I can do, as well as always maintain education. So I'm thankful that I have the ability to see and learn on a consistent basis and be able to do what I love to do, and to have a voice like I have now because of your show, where I can project information to help who is coming next.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. I too am gracious, and I am thankful for the fact that I woke up this morning, because everybody that went to sleep last night didn't get the chance to wake up this morning. And that identifies and tells me that there is a God. And I am thankful to that God for affording me the opportunity to wake up and to be able to be productive. Hopefully have a usable consciousness, and share that consciousness with others, giving inspiration, entertainment, enlightenment, and that which will continue to inspire others toward greatness. I am thrilled that you gentlemen, and thankful that you guys took the time out of your life, because, you know, time is very precious. Once it's gone, it's gone. So you took the time out of your life to come and share, not just with me, but with the entire world population that's hearing your voices at this time, and to share with them your life experience, this great piece of art called The Last Fall, the continued excitement that surrounds each of you in your careers, and the ability to be able to do what it is that you do, to continue to tell the stories. For those that are listening and watching, we encourage you, tell your story. Tell your story with empirical knowledge. Tell your story from the passion that burns inside of you. And be willing to take the risk to go beyond the pale. Because someone has said to me from time to time, yeah, but Obba, it's hard. I'm just trying to get paid. And I say to them, remember that there was full employment during slavery. At what cost are you willing to get paid? You have the opportunity to do something with your life. The concept of you being the master of your own destiny is not a slogan. It's an actual fact. Take charge of it. Take charge of it and make that happen. I thank you so much for joining us here on Masterpiece Theater. I hope you'll come back and stick with us. Tell others about us. Tell them to come and see what we're doing over here. And perhaps we'll get you on the show as well. Remember, as I always say, as in life, as you do anything is how you do everything. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless each and every one of you, and we'll talk to you soon. Masterpiece Theater is brought to you by Roscoe's Media Center, sponsored by Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, the makers of Pitbull Energy Drink. The show is engineered by Poetess, written by Obba Babatunde and Kennedy Goldsby, and produced by Paul Goldsby, executive producer, The Good Herb.